Today's episode is being brought to you by Untarnished, Reclaiming My Self-Worth Through God's Untainted Love. Untarnished is a compelling memoir and simple self-help guide where I give you the inside scoop on my personal journey and provide coping strategies to help others heal from their past. You can download a free copy of the first chapter by heading over to donnacherie.com/untarnished. You're listening to Untarnished Moments, the podcast that helps you shine through life challenges and move past self-defeat into victory. I'm your host, Donna Cherie. Let's get into today's show. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Untarnished Moments. I am so excited about today. Today, I am speaking with a special guest, and we're going to be talking about her journey and things that pertain to self-worth, and I'm just really excited to have her on the show. Welcome to the show, Dr. LaToya.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Donna. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so again, my name is Dr. LaToya Wiggins, but you can just call me LaToya because, look, I'm in chill mode. I'm trying to take the titles off right now.
Okay.
But speaking of titles, I am a mom to 3 boys. I have a 13-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old. Everybody's birthdays has just passed, so I can finally unwind from all the birthday stuff. I'm a wife. I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a physical therapist, but right now I'm taking a little break. I took a final actual break, after I had my last son. I said, you know what? This is the last child I plan on having. Let me go ahead and, just relax. Well, I don't know if relax is the right word, but I was taking a break from my career, I should say. And at the same time, like I said, I'm not really relaxing, but I am focusing on my other passion, which is wellness coaching. And I call myself the self-care strategist for Christian moms because, I know we're about to get into that, but I know the struggles of being a mom and it's my passion. Health and wellness is my passion, period, as a physical therapist and a coach. So I just really want to help the moms out there have more peace and joy in life.
Okay, awesome. And you mentioned that you're originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I used to live there for about 3 years.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, this was like over 10 years ago. So yeah, I know the area. So
all right. Yeah, born and raised and still here.
Okay. Oh, so you're still there. Okay.
Yeah, well, yes.
Nice. I know it's probably changed a lot since I've been there, but I think it's a great place. All right. So you mentioned that you have a 2-year-old, right?
Yes.
And your third son. And then there was when you're taking a break from your career and there were some challenges after you had your third child. So talk to us a little bit about what your experiences were and what you were going through at that time.
Yes. So I had my 2-year-old in February 2021. So if you're doing the math, that means we are smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. So, that was just a crazy time period. Being in the pandemic, already isolated, trying to keep yourself safe. And initially, I was actually okay being isolated in the pandemic. I'm like, look, I got some peace and quiet. I don't have to be around anybody. Introvert for me was happy. But after I had my third son, I had a very difficult time transitioning from a mom of 2 to 3. And during my pregnancy, it was difficult. I didn't have any health problems, but I just had the, nausea, sickness throughout the whole pregnancy, feeling miserable. And it's you give birth and you're waiting for the relief, but then there's the other problems, in the postpartum state. So I was having problems with breastfeeding. My C-section incision was having some issues. And I just felt like I was being spread thin, trying to make sure everybody was okay. I'm always worried about everybody else except for me. I wanted to make sure that the older 2 kids were adjusting well to having a new, baby in the house. I'm trying to adjust to, just to deal with everybody. I have 3 kids, 1 being a newborn. My middle son is very hyperactive, still hyperactive. And then I have my husband. So I just really felt like it was hard to give everybody the love, care, and attention that they needed. And I know it's a mental thing. Nobody was probably even really thinking that, but as a mom, I'm always worried about everybody else. So for several months, I was really struggling to feel like myself again, feel like LaToya outside of being a mom and a wife. But I was having a really hard time. And these were certain feelings that I had before after I had my second son, but this time it was harder to bounce back. And I just felt myself just really walking around the house a lot, grumpy, irritated. Every time I saw a mess on the floor or the house just out of order, what I felt, was out of order, it just made me so angry. And I know my attitude was horrible. And I didn't want to be that way, especially one time in particular. I just really lashed out at everybody, just screaming to the top of my lungs, telling everybody how much they got on my nerves, how much I was sick and tired of cleaning up after everybody. And I know my family, they didn't deserve this grumpy mom, this grumpy wife, and I didn't want to be that way. It was like, what happened to you? The happy LaToya. I really woke up every day, opening my eyes, dreading the day before, even got started. So, that day when I just retreated to my room after lashing out at everyone, I just really had my private pity party on the bedroom floor, just crying my heart out and just asking God, what was wrong with me and please help me. And after all the tears finally, kind of came to an end, I just really decided, LaToya, it's time to get yourself together. It's time to get the help that you need. I was trying to heal myself for several months, but obviously it wasn't working. So I had to, make that decision to stop being stubborn and start seeing a mental health therapist. And also around that time, I was trying to work on strengthening my relationship with God. So I guess you could say between therapy and Jesus, that's what really helped me heal. I began to practice more peace and calmness, patience, with my family, even when I felt like I was in the middle of chaos, because I wanted to be a better person for them and make sure I'm pleasing, my Heavenly Father. So that was a real big thing. I found myself, being intentional about how I was reacting towards them, how I was even just, the thoughts that I had just waking up, instead of dreading the day, starting it off with more positivity. My therapist helped me to be more consistent with getting back in the gym, taking better care of my body, and actually doing things I enjoy. These are things that I love to do, going to the gym with my fitness group and just really working out, taking better care of my body, getting more sleep, as much as I could with the infant at that time. And I started socializing more. Remember, I said I was isolated. So outside of, trying to stay safe due to COVID, I was being more intentional about nourishing my friendships. And all those things really helped me have more peace and joy in life. And I got back to working on my business because that was on hold for a while. So when I started coming back out as a wellness coach and becoming a self-care strategist, I definitely wanted to incorporate the spirituality piece in that. That's why I specifically work with Christian moms, because that spirituality piece, your relationship with God, I feel like if that's not in order, everything else won't be in order either. Your physical health, your mental health, you got to make sure that you are leaning into God and serving Him the way that He wants you to serve Him. And that alone helps me to be more intentional about caring for my body and my mind.
So I want to go back for a second to where you had this moment of having like an outburst to that point, and you said that you, in a sense, I guess, cried out to God and was asking Him to help you. What was, and you mentioned that you needed to get help with just take care of your mental health and get therapy.
Yeah.
So after that, was that like the next day, or did that take a couple months? What exactly did you do after you realized you needed that for yourself?
Yeah, so it was a process over time. I was being intentional about actually reaching out to a therapist. So with my therapy journey, it initially started in June 2021. And I didn't have a great experience with that therapist. It was nothing wrong with them, but like the scheduling, it was just very inconsistent. And it actually made me, I guess, feel discouraged. So I actually stopped seeing the therapist. And I'm like, you know what? I've done wellness coaching before, so I know what I need to do. I just need to try harder. And then, that didn't work. So then 2 months later, I was listening to a podcast called Therapy as a Christian. And during one of the commercials, they mentioned BetterHelp, which is an online place you can see a therapist pretty much. And you have the options to actually kind of try out different therapists. So, if you got matched with one therapist and for whatever reason it wasn't working out or you weren't feeling them, you could easily switch to another one. So I was thinking, well, now that sounds very helpful, so I tried that out. And so pretty much I started seeing a therapist consistently I got the dates mixed up. August, I started working on my relationship with God. And then following that, like September, I reached out to the therapist on BetterHelp. So I started seeing actually out of schedule around October. So it was like a process, but I was taking those steps to, actually get the help that I needed. So in tandem, I was working with the therapist and strengthening my relationship with God to find out how to, read the word, actually pray. I mean, I prayed, but it's something about how we pray sometimes. I guess being intentional, I guess how you would fight, spiritual warfare and how you talk to God, spend time with God. All those things really helped me strengthen my relationship. Not just praying and going on about my day, but really sitting in his presence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So you said that was BetterHelp or BetterHelp?
BetterHelp. Help.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, BetterHelp.com. And that was really good. Actually had a very good therapist, and we worked with each other for, several months.
Okay. And during that process too of, okay, so now you're reconnecting with God and deepening your relationship, and then also with the therapy, what began to change at home and how you responded to maybe when the kids made a mess or if your husband might have did something or didn't do something? How did, what was that shift like then?
Yeah, I found myself pausing more before, reacting. So sometimes even, to this day, because I'm not perfect, sometimes I have to pause before I say, being intentional about, sometimes everything doesn't require, a reaction, so sometimes you have to sit there for a moment and really think like, is this worth me saying anything? And if it is worth me saying something, pausing to make sure I'm saying it, in a respectful way, so it's all about thinking about what I'm going to say before I say it instead of just saying the first thing that, comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, that helps to maintain more peace in my marriage. It helps me to talk to my children in a more nourishing way instead of yelling unnecessarily, So that pause has been tremendous. A tremendous help, and even to this day, I have to think about it, even outside of my home. Somebody might cut you off on the road or whatever, things of that nature. It's like, is this really worth it, And it is automatically, you tell yourself no, it kind of just brings more peace automatically. Like you can feel the shift in like your heartbeat or the tension. It just kind of releases and, just kind of relax more.
Absolutely. So since overcoming this depression and anxiety and beginning to nourish your own mental, physical, and spiritual parts of yourself, what are some practices that you do daily or consistently that help you when it comes to self-care?
Mm-hmm. So one thing which is very important for, I feel like, everybody, especially if you're a mom, waking up and getting yourself together, mentally before everybody else wakes up. I feel like that's one thing, because a lot of times I will wake up and I'm just automatically on go. You wake up, you're out the bed, and now you're getting these kids ready, you ship them off to school, everything. And it's just like, you didn't even give yourself time to just, I don't know, it just to the day, just woke up and was immediately busy. So just really waking up, having some quiet time, saying my prayers. A lot of times now it's a Bible study that comes on in the morning, 5 days a week, called Faith Mamas. So I'll turn that on and listen to it. Even if for some reason, maybe if I woke up late, or maybe the little, my 2-year-old, maybe he wakes up a little bit earlier, so I don't get that quiet time. I'll even listen to that stuff in the car. So I'm just kind of doing something that feels peaceful, calming, and connecting with God, early in the morning. And so that's one thing. And even if it doesn't happen in the morning, like I said, it's happening maybe around noon, something, I'm just turning things on. Especially, like I said, as a busy mom, or if you're a busy person, audio stuff is so helpful. So I can have YouTube on, but not watch the videos. Even listen to podcasts or worship music, I have something on that's just kind of make me feel at peace, So that's in the morning. I'll even do that throughout the day. If it's a stressful day, for whatever reason, just listening to something to kind of calm me down, it always helps. If let's say I didn't get a chance to pray in the morning and I feel myself getting stressed, a lot of times I'll ask myself, did you talk to God today? And if the answer is no, it's like, okay, let me have that quiet time, even if it's just for a few minutes, and talk to him. And those are different things that bring me peace each day. And then in the evenings, most days, at least 4 days out the week, I try to prioritize going to the gym, where I mentioned I go to the gym and I do group fitness classes, and so I'll do that. And those workouts are really fun. Even like the hard ones, they're just really fun when you're in that environment of other women. We're all pumping each other up, so that's one of the big things. So making sure I'm making some time with God each day and doing something that nourishes my body, and just eating healthy, all those different things. It gives you energy, and that energy, that physical energy, it actually helps with your mental energy as well. So those are some things that I do on a consistent basis.
Okay. And what if someone they're not there yet? Like, oh, that sounds really great. And they desire to do that, but they're just like in this place of self-defeat or the slump, or they're still dealing with depression or anxiety. What is one thing that they can do to kind of jumpstart and get themselves out of that place?
Mm-hmm. I would say the first step, which is what I had to do, is pretty much give yourself permission to say yes to yourself. When you give yourself permission to say yes to those things that are going to bring you more peace and joy, bring you more happiness, that's the start right there. You have to get out of the habit of, on the opposite end, just saying yes to everybody else, which is okay, but not if it's depleting you. You can't pour into everyone efficiently if you have nothing else left to give, or you're giving the last of you. You're not even giving people the best of you. So just start with, give yourself permission to say yes to whatever that thing is that you feel like will give you peace and joy. And just think, it doesn't have to be anything big. It could just be one thing. Think about like that most important thing. If I could just do this one thing every day or most days during the week, this will bring me more joy. And, for each person individually, you just have to decide what that thing is. Maybe it is strengthening your relationship with God. Maybe it is getting up in the morning and just having some quiet time before the kids get up. Maybe it is eating more healthy, nutritious foods. Maybe it is just drinking more water. You have to decide what that is, for yourself, and say yes. And once you say yes, you'll take those steps to get started. You don't have to worry about, I always say the hard part is people thinking you have to do it, achieve your goals fast. Just start small. So I know you said one thing, but that's the biggest thing. Like, give yourself permission to say yes, and then start small wherever it is. So, for example, let's say you want to start working out more, or working out period, and you don't work out. Don't try to go to the gym 5 days a week. You can start with 3 days, 2 days if you need to. You don't have to go to the gym for an hour. Start with 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. Just start small, and don't feel like you have to do it all at one time. Because when we start big, that's how we set ourselves up for failure. And a lot of times we don't get started again. So start small, get consistent with whatever that is, 5 minutes or 2 days out the week of doing whatever it is. And then once you master that, then you can add one more time or another day, whatever it is.
And then how does one keep doing it repeatedly? Because they can get back into the busy lifestyle of just being a busy mom, but how do they stay conscious or present about that to continue to do it so that it does become a lifestyle and they can truly experience that peace and joy?
Yeah. So outside of starting small and getting consistent with those small steps that lead to, big goals, if you're achieving your goals, I would say to really lean into community, for accountability. That community could be like surrounding yourself with like-minded people, so whatever goal it is that you're working on, surround yourself with other people who are working on that same goal, whether it's fitness, your mental health. Like as a mom, I surround myself with other moms, who I can relate to. It could be pursuing a career, so surround yourself with other people who are working in that similar field, whatever it is, just leave it to that community, and then, get professional expert help. So if you need to see a mental health therapist, see one. See a fitness coach or nutritionist, personal trainer, career coach, business coach, speaking coach, whatever it is that you're working on, get somebody in that field who, is an expert, and then they can hold you accountable as well.
And then just thinking about in terms of self-care, and when I think about women and moms, it's like we always find ourselves just so busy and so many things on our plate. And I think oftentimes we have this misconception that makes us fulfilled.
Yeah.
We just have busy tasks, but that's really not the case.
Right.
And that we do need to have more self-care. But what, in your opinion, why do we as women often neglect ourselves to take care of others rather than kind of putting ourselves first?
Yeah, I feel like women, we're natural nurturers, it's in our DNA. And so we want to make sure everyone is happy and healthy. But a lot of times we don't realize that we're actually depleting ourselves until it's like too late. You're trying to show up for everybody else. But then a lot of times we end up being stressed, overwhelmed, burnt out. And then you may feel bitter or resentment towards somebody else. But the thing is, we actually did it to ourselves. It's usually nobody else's fault the way we feel except for ourselves. So a lot of times it's just getting out of that habit, or sometimes it's a mindset issue or limiting beliefs. Maybe we saw other women, while we were growing up, we saw other women doing that. And what I always tell people, like from a healthcare professional standpoint, I see a lot of older people with all these different health problems. I will look at their chart, like when I'm about to have see a client, I look at their chart and it's a ton of health issues. I'm actually surprised when I don't see anything or to see one or two things. And that's from years of a lot of unhealthy living. And, some health problems we can't prevent, but a lot of them we can prevent. So it was kind of like, oh, they look good then while they were younger, but what happened over time? Growing older and having health issues is actually not supposed to happen. It's just a lot of buildup of unhealthy, physical and mental problems. So we have to be the change makers, and start taking care of ourselves so that we don't age and have illness, but age with, when we have more peace and joy, when we're not living every day being busied and stressed out all the time, we'll have better health. So it's really, for me, a reflection of, I saw this. They were, looking like superwoman, but then now what? So it's really, I guess, getting out of that cycle, that mindset of, we have to be busy. Or a lot of times if you talk to older people, or even people who are young right now, sometimes people look like they are doing an amazing job, taking care of their families, building these great careers, and they look happy on the outside. But, if you have a deep personal conversation with them, they may be struggling as well. And that's the whole thing. Like, why is everybody struggling? Why is everybody dealing with, depression, anxiety, or all these other different mental and emotional health problems? We have to start taking care of ourselves. So I really think it's just a mindset shift and getting rid of those limiting beliefs, those beliefs that we grew up knowing.
From your expertise and experience of working with a variety of different individuals in the healthcare realm, as well as, I don't know if you're in ministry, but maybe in ministry, and just people that you've met along the way, and from your research, when it comes to self-care, making it self-care a necessity in your life, from a biblical standpoint or biblical principles, what does the Bible say about that?
I always say, just look at the gospel of Jesus. If you look at Jesus prioritizes self-care. Like self-care isn't written in the Bible with those words, but Jesus would go out and minister, and then he will find places to rest, have solitude. Sometimes he will even tell the apostles, his disciples, like there's not exact words, but, we've been out here all day. Let's go find a place to rest. It's so many different areas of the Bible where they're resting. You think about God creating the world. What did he do on the seventh day? He rested. What's in the 10 Commandments? The Sabbath. To rest. You have worked 6 days. Now it's time to rest. So those are some of the biblical standpoints. I like also there's a scripture about Moses, and this is one of the perfect examples. And, this was before the judges, but, people were coming to Moses, bringing their problems to him. He was supposed to fix it. And one day he was talking to his father-in-law. And when he was telling his father-in-law all the stuff he was doing, his father-in-law told him, he was going to wear himself out, so he needed help. And he pretty much told him to get, judges, get these other people, elders who can help you, so people can go to them first with their problems. And then to Moses if needed, So these are biblical standpoints that, like, yes, these people need a rest too. And same thing with Moses. He felt like he had to cater, I guess you could say, to everybody until his father-in-law told him, like, nah, that's not going to work. You're going to wear yourself out. So those are some of the examples in the Bible where you see what I would call self-care.
Yeah, and I really love those examples. And I'm just over here thinking about that story with Moses and it also just makes me think about, too, like when we do reach that point, because Moses, he was at the point to where he was worn out or could be worn out, just because he got good advice and the wisdom that father-in-law that he had, he was able to put these things in place to free up his time and to handle the things that were most important or most difficult and where he didn't have to do everything. And I think too, like even from that example, we have to get to a point in our lives to where we can get help, finding the help that we need, whether that's within our household with the children or our spouses or the professional help so that it can free up some space and some rest for us.
Right. Yeah, gotta start delegating or take advantage of these. Like for me, I really haven't gone to the supermarket anymore. I am on Instacart or Walmart picking up.
I noticed.
And while I'm doing that, I'm doing something else, instead of, going out. And then a lot of times, you get in those stores and you buy unnecessary stuff.
Yes.
Well, it actually does help you save some money.
Or the long lines where you got to wait, right? 30 minutes. Yeah. So yes, so true. So good. So what also too do you think is very important about just self-care? Why it's important, if you will?
Yes, I feel like self-care, at least, from how I define it, some people look at self-care as just getting your hair done, your nails done, and spa days, which is all good, but it's so much deeper than that. I always say it's about nourishing yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually. And the thing is, it's not selfish, especially when you're looking at it from a biblical standpoint, because if I'm taking care of myself, I can actually pour into others, but without depleting, so when we're running on fumes, which is what usually happens when you're not prioritizing self-care, we do look super, women, we will make sure we are superwoman and, you cater to everybody else, but you're really giving them what's left of you. You're not really giving them the best of you. So when you actually fill your cup and pour from that overflow, the best of yourself goes into everything that you do. It goes into your family. It goes into your friendships. It goes into your career or businesses. It really makes everything better. When you're in the right frame of mind, you feel good. You're going to, put more energy into things, but it's good energy. Not, like I said, not what's giving, you're not giving what's left of you, that depleted version, but everything else is going to shine when I feel like you're shining inside also.
And for your life and just making your own personal changes, how has your family responded to that? Your husband and your children and overall?
Now, definitely my husband, I know he's different, we're not arguing, as much, or even if you feel like you're about to argue, it's like, okay, you shut it down, quickly. So there's definitely more peace between us. My kids, I don't know if they notice the difference, whatever, but I know, there's a difference. It's not like, I think they were looking at me like, oh, she's an angry mom or whatever. Kids are so forgiving. You could yell at them and then, they're right up under you the next minute. But I do know that, if I didn't get it in check early, I know those things could have a negative effect on, children. So that's why it's important to get the help that you need, because I don't want my kids to have to recover, from a childhood of their mother being, whatever, whether they were, yelling or whatever else, you can negatively impact your children. So definitely it's important to, get the help that you need early on.
Absolutely. So kind of to wrap up, what's one thing that you'd like to share with the audience that can encourage them to stop neglecting themselves and to begin to nourish their mind, body, and soul so that they can pour into their family and others without depleting themselves?
Yes, I would say if you're whether you're a mom or you're just, you could be a mom you could be a mom, you could be a wife, you could be single and free, carefree, everything. Whatever stage that you are in life right now, if you are feeling overwhelmed at all, if you are feeling stressed out, burnt out in any way, just take a day if you can, or it could just be a few hours. Whenever you get a chance, but make some time. That's the main thing. I need you to make some time, sit with yourself, and really ask yourself, what does happiness look like for you? Or, what does success look like for you? And really evaluate, what are some small steps that you can start doing? Again, small steps that you can start doing right now to bring some more peace and joy in your life. I feel like a lot of times we don't sit with ourselves to really ask ourselves or know what we want. Somebody could ask like, what, where do you want to be? What they ask you on job interviews, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in a year or even just a few months? Sometimes we don't really know that. We're just on this, I don't know, we're like autopilot, just living life, but not really thriving in life. Just living day by day, just doing what we need to do to be alive, but we're not really reflecting on what would bring us happiness. So sit with yourself and really ask yourself, what's like your ideal day or your ideal life? How do you see that? And what's something very small they can start doing today that will lead to achieving that goal?
So if individuals would like to stay connected to you and learn more about self-care and how to begin to put things in place, where can they find you on the internet?
Yes, so I am on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at She Is a Nourished Mom. My website is www.sheisanourishedmom. I have my podcast, She Is a Nourished Mom. So as you see, I've made it very easy to find me. She Is a Nourished Mom on all platforms. And also, I know we discussed, some of those steps on trying to figure out what to do for self-care, how you can get started. If you go to my website, sheisanourishedmom.com, I do have a free Busy Christian Mom self-care workbook. And in that workbook, there's different sections, such as your physical nourishment, your mental nourishment, your spiritual nourishment, giving yourself permission to say yes, like I mentioned, and how to manage your time so you can make time for self-care. So that's a really good workbook to just reflect on, what do I need to do for self-care? It's not about me telling you what to do, but it gives you questions that helps you to reflect on what would bring you more peace and joy in each one of those different areas.
Awesome. So I'll be sure to provide that information in the show notes so individuals can go and check that out. Guys, be sure to get that Busy Christian Mom self-care workbook and see what's available and then start working on your self-care because it's so important. And like LaToya mentioned, you don't want to realize years later that it's almost too late or you're on a deathbed or you have this severe illness when you could have made changes before if you just took better care of yourself. So
yeah,
be sure to get the workbook. And of course, it's free. So let's do it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it and appreciate your wisdom and your words of wisdom that you provided to the audience. Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Anytime. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So until next time, ciao. Hey, Overcomers. Thanks for tuning in. For more information, head on over to DonnaCherie.com. If you want to find me online, I'm at I am Donna Cherie on Instagram and Donna Cherie on Facebook. Don't forget to join the Overcomers Confidence Club Facebook community. And of course, if you love the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes.